Give it another minute or so. I'm looking in particular for people who have stuff on the agenda, Mark and Wu Zhang.
Let me check with Mark. I think he might have the wrong time. We because of the time change.
Yeah, that affects a few of us. Well, while we're waiting here, I see Michelle. Did you figure out anything on groups.io, or maybe that's not even the right mechanism to be using? I don't know.
No, I think you were right. I think we just need to ask for a premium account, and I'm attempting to figure out what ticket I need to file to do that.
Okay.
So that should fix the issue. It's just not really clear how exactly to
Yeah.
file a ticket. I don't know if I'm in the right place. So
I mean, getting into the portal, it was straight. I just thought I'd try it, so it was straightforward to set the mailing list up, and the portal made me believe it was going to be branded correctly, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw the same thing when I set up the TST one, and then I saw the other ones that you had set up, and so
you set up info as forwarding. How did you do that?
I don't think you can do that. I think only I can do that.
Okay.
So I think the primary difference is you don't get like the history.
Yeah.
You can't like log in and see all the conversations. It just forwards emails from that alias to whatever email addresses you add to it.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's fine. That's fine for info, but we definitely want the full forum for the other
right.
so we keep the history.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I see Mark is on now. We'll just as you can tell, we're now live in the wiki. It's set up. DAF was going to look into making wiki.etherproject.org that your default landing page, but it is possible for you to visit your own profile and edit to make it your landing page if you wanted to. So I am in edit mode. My understanding is that anyone could join me in edit mode, and we are jointly editing the wiki as in the same way that we did with the Google Doc. Let me go ahead and get out of here and just give you a really quick tour. Obviously, there's a landing page. It's now home Ether project. Bunch of resources associated with the project broadly. There's a page then for each of the major components, and I'm hoping that people that are working on that particular component or have a stake in what's going on there to start populating this. This is just the starting point. I had some old collateral that I linked in. Same thing for SD-RAN, same thing for Smart 5G, one of our main use cases. And then there's clearly a place for the TST and the notes and so on. And I tried to get all the old stuff archived in there as well. But like I said on the Slack channel, treat this as a start, and let's just use it to collect all the collateral and demos and videos and whatnot that we have. Oh, I did set up a page called Research Is Still Empty, and that's where, as we talked last time, this is mostly aimed at not trial deployment so much as this is what I did in my lab. I configured, I have a certain set of results. It's kind of a synopsis of the work and pointers to all the results and other pages that might be relevant would be a good thing to populate this with. I'm looking at this as more of a kind of a catalog. Any case, coming back to the TST, and I will get into edit. As you see with the mailing list, info is not a group, but the others, Michelle is working on getting them set up. That's TST and dev and announce were the three main ones that were still pending. Those will be set up as groups. So to Mark's point down, Slack loses history. Yeah, these groups will be set up and we will, I mean, it's kind of hard to change behavior, but we would maybe try to use that a little bit more just because it does keep the history better than Slack does. Any other, I don't know if Daff is on, or Michelle, any other transition issues to talk about?
Not, well, I don't, Daph probably has some. Well, this is more marketing related, but I've been setting up, like I set up a separate LinkedIn page for Volta to get away from the ONF homepage. And Aether should decide if you want to do the same thing, because right now there aren't really any independent social media channels for announcements.
I always forget, does LinkedIn have the D?
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone on the call, the TST, is that all right? I don't see any, I don't know how much we'd use it necessarily, but I don't see any harm in it.
I think, Larry, Michelle, everyone, I think there's a little bit more of a call for the Aether board, and it's actually on the agenda for the Aether board meeting. And
Okay.
the Aether board also, you know, or at least for other LF projects, sets up a marketing, whatever, subcommittee, I don't know what it is. Yeah, I mean, if this group is, you know, we'd love to have this group involved or whatnot too, and the content really needs to be coming out of this group and everything, but it's just a little bit broader than this group, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And there's also a question to the Aether board about whether it wants to budget money to support marketing and what that would look like. But again, any feedback or anything that can, you know, from this group, anything we can hear, suggest, or would be useful, that would be really good input to the board.
If I may, along those lines, I used to participate in OPNFV, and that was under the LFN, the networking fund. So I'm not sure what the rest of Linux Foundation looked like. But certainly there were internship projects where you could propose to the LFN that, hey, this is a project that we're having, it's an internship. And there was some budget from the LFN board that basically would allow to pay for that sort of thing. There were also unpaid internships. And that's exactly the question. Is that something with the broader LF behind it now, is that a program that we can apply to?
So my take is that it's not a LF broadly, but it is an Aether issue. And the board, I mean, when Aether was under ONF, we did have interns. ONF historically had a lot of interns. So there's a history of that. And I would think that would be a good thing to do. It's funding, it's a board issue. If Canonical wanted to do an internship and somehow associated with this, that would be fantastic as well.
True. Yeah, I don't think I don't think we have a really solid internship program so much, but I can ask about that for sure. But yeah, just as far as, you know, some of the logistics around internships, you know, creating the project proposal, what the draft timeline should look like, evaluating submissions from potential candidates, that whole framework. I can also, you know, like you said, you've historically had in ONF, so I'm sure there's experiences there, but that's something that I can help with as well.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, it is, funding it is, will be a board thing, so we'll.
Yeah.
I will, I guess, and time as well, but take this to the board.
Well, even unfunded internships, where basically what you're doing is entering into an agreement with the student that they will, do this work, and in exchange, they will receive on, like O&F letterhead or whatever the letterhead would be, a certificate stating that they, completed this work. And
Yeah.
that is, it may sound like we're asking for free labor, but no, we're helping give back too.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's actually one of the reasons I'm trying to beef up the research I don't know, perspective on the project so that students see. I mean, there's a lot of reasons and different kinds of internships. That's just one of them. But to draw that connection to universities is, I guess, maybe one of the big outcomes of that.
Yeah, I like where you're going with that thought.
We just need visibility. Actually, we're getting decent visibility in universities, so that's a good thing. All right,
this is
excellent idea.
Yeah, and this has been a good discussion too. So, the Aether board is just getting up and running, and there is an Aether board meeting later this week. And the Aether board, is establishing a budget, and its role is really to, raise funds and use the funds to help the project move forward. That's really in the broad view of things. And so, yeah, I think internships and or other ways, the board could choose to invest. This is a really good line of discussion for this group and something we should be, talking about sort of on an ongoing basis. And I would say also that once the board is a little further along in sort of getting up and running, there's definitely an opportunity for paid members, and Canonical, has joined as a general member of the project. So, Canonical will be sort of more formally, working with and collaborating with the board. The board's trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. But even, for the TST as well, and the broader community, we need to kind of figure out and establish better lines of communication, bidirectionally as we move forward.
Yeah. All right, thanks. Mark, you have a couple of items here asking for help, and so I want to, run with it.
Yeah, so basically what the question is are we ready on the mailing lists to ask for help? And is that the preferred mechanism for doing so? The background is I'm looking to do some UPF testing and whatnot, and in brief conversation with Gab, he mentioned that there used to be, a test run which did the UPF testing, and they're going to try and dust that off. And I said, hey, great, I'd like to get involved in that. And I thought, what better way to kick off the email lists than to ask, is this an appropriate conversation to put on a list?
No, it sounds like it absolutely is. So once the list is set up, that would also be a nice attractor to get people to start following the list regularly.
Perfect then. And so,
there is a nightly integration test that runs the bandwidth. Well, it's still being debugged. It was at one point that runs UPF bandwidth tests. You mentioned Trex. I don't know that, or T-Rex, whatever it is.
Larry?
Yeah.
Are you referring to the packet testing framework for the nightly tests?
No. I'm referring to UE Ransent.
I think
okay.
there was a test
Okay.
with
So just to kind of give you some context, the UPF itself had this subcomponent that is called a packet testing framework. The packet testing framework was working, I think the last time that was successful was probably around like 2 years ago, based on the history that I have seen on Jenkins. And what the this packet testing framework does is uses at one end, deploys the UPF in DPDK mode, and in another machine deploys T-Rex, which is a traffic generator based on DPDK, to kind of stress test the UPF. So at that point, the T-Rex runs on as a daemon, and basically the UPF has these components already built in to kind of trigger a T-Rex and start the whole test. Start some unit tests and also start these line rate tests. So in our side, Suresh is primarily working now on that component. Suresh, if you wanna kind of give an update of.
Yeah, Gabriel. So on the front, so what we tried is so far we tried to test the PTF test, which is doing the packet pushing from the T-Rex. So we see some kind of problem in the sense when it is trying to get the status of the ports, it was showing us down. So in order to understand the issue better, I have set up the AAB UPF against the T-Rex without the PTF framework, and I was able to pump the traffic and everything is worked fine. So, and I'm just in the process of investigating why the ports were showing down with respect to the PTF framework. Is there any kind of libraries mismatch between these two environment? And so we were in the process. So, and I'm in, debugging the same.
Yeah, and two more comments on that part. So one, over time dependencies get outdated, and that's why I believe one of the issues that we're seeing here is that whatever was working 2 years ago, it's exactly the same thing
Yeah.
is not working now anymore. That's
Right.
on one side. Now, probably a question for Mark. What kind of or what is the reason that you're looking into T-Rex? So are you planning to just do some performance tests or something more sophisticated than just sending a bunch of packets, let's say in UDP fashion?
So I wanted to start getting some performance profiling of UP. In my initial tests, UE ransom are basically an end-to-end, which include a couple routers in the picture, because of course we got a RAN access router that's got to route packets between the radio and the UPF itself. I don't know if it's in the GTP encapsulation or whatever, but what was ending up happening is if I tried to have the radio and the service on my radio network and on my access network and my core network, well, the UPF would end up getting bypassed. So I thought, okay, if I want to test without any routers, I should look into something like a T-Rex, which can do the GTP signaling and then do the GTP encapsulation and test the UPF unit in isolation rather than the end-to-end, which is all the hops.
Okay, yeah, so that is kind of what we typically do. Just we connect back-to-back T-Rex and the UPF. No other component. Basically, UPF we load. There is the UPF has a way to load the different PFCP rules directly into the UPF, so we don't need any other control plane entity in the core network. And then T-Rex already has all these different, well, not T-Rex. So we have the scripts to create all these different packets, either from the N3 component or from the N6 side, to generate all the traffic into the UPF in uplink and downlink. So far, that is something that we have been doing manually. So, just have these scripts, so have these Python scripts, start the T-Rex, start sending traffic and so on. But the packet testing framework, give us this flexibility or help us make it more in an easier way, let's say. But just gonna give you an idea, because the PTF is down, what I did is I create my, let's say, own packet generator using the same UPF pipeline. So, and that's what I have been using so far for doing my testing on not just DPDK, well, DPDK, primary DPDK, but it can work DPDK or AF packet mode so far that I have tested it. Basically, it's the same UPF, but modify the pipeline to, instead of kind of like processing packets, in this case, it generates packets and receives packets. I can send you the link of what I have. I haven't, you know, I typically use just in my own repository because I'm not in anything specific, but that's a way that at least if you are looking for something more generic, that could be useful for testing.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly the type of thing that I'd be looking to do as well. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, so I think this is continuing in this discussion on the mailing list as soon as we have the dev mailing list up would be fantastic. Okay, so next item on the agenda, we're ready to move on. A request from Canonical to do a presentation on their charmed packaging of Aether 5G core. That seems fine. Any other comments? We could do that next, set aside some time next week. I don't know, 20 minutes enough?
Yeah, 20 minutes should be plenty.
All right, I'll just make note of that.
Thank you.
All right, looking forward to hearing that. Also looking forward to the next item on the agenda, and I see Wu Zhang is now on. So we had a bit of a discussion last week about how do we keep moving SD-RAN forward. I'm going to say you get more than 5 minutes here. So yeah, so what are the plans? Anything you can tell us would be great.
Yeah, so sorry, first last meeting I could not join because of some other tasks. But I was thinking that actually someone else is leading some release process for SD-RAN, but if it seems there is no people, so let me take a lead for the release process. So I just started writing a proposal for the release plan, like what Ajay did for the SD core. Mostly, I think we can follow the same process, but let me double check, and then if there is something SD-RAN has if there is some special things for SD-RAN, let me specify that document. But anyway, so the proposal document, I'm writing it right now for some SD-RAN release plan, and also I'm writing some scope for the next release. So basically, the SD-RAN release stopped from 1.3. And now this is the really delayed for SD-RAN 1.4 release. So it should be released that 1.4 only this year. So that is what I'm focusing on right now. And also I'm writing the scope of the next SD-RAN 1.4 release. It should the major scope, major item for the scope is the first one is the X application update. Basically, all the X application previously we used our own service model, but now we updated all the X application to use the ORAN RC service model, which is the official ORAN service model. Previously, we used our own ONF service model, but we changed the DAX application to use the official one. So that is the major change. And also the scalable RAN simulator. Well, actually, I'm sorry, but it is getting delayed because some of my friends from Korea actually was out from my team, so it's getting delayed. But I wanted to include that first version of the scalable RAN simulator to the SD-RAN release 1.4. So those two parts is the major item for the next release.
So you still hope to include it, even though I see on the next bullet it's been delayed.
Yes. At least first version, including supporting the KPI X application, should be released in 1.4.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. And about
John, just a short comment, sorry to interrupt. So we were trying with the latest SD-RAN an E2 integration with a Viavi simulator, yes, or commercial simulator, and we had some problem with the ASN1 encoding.
okay.
Our conclusion was the ASN1 encoding used in the SD-RAN is not the official ORAN Alliance ASN1 encoding. Maybe I can write you an email on that, and
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it's really that the case, maybe we should fix that as well in
yeah,
the
yeah,
in
yeah.
the
Of
release,
course. Yeah, of
because it's
course.
pretty important, I think. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. That bug
Okay.
fix should be very important for 1.4 as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And the other part is about the 5G OAI integration. So as you know, for the last Pronto demo, we showcased the 5G OAI OAI RAN stack with SD-RAN read controller. So we integrated OAI 5G RAN stack with KPI Monax application, and it was working well. But the problem here is that is inside the Intel repository, and I'm not sure how I can release it to the open source. That is the one problem. So if I can do that, then I will include that code in the SD-WAN 1.4. Otherwise, I will postpone it to the next release. So that is one point for OAI 5G integration. And
So
other than
a couple of quick
yeah.
questions about yeah, you mentioned about I was on the mute. So we tried to roll back on that ASN1 encoding for the previous release of ORAN, but that didn't work either. So that's something that you might want to check, and we can do some testing with Viavi simulator if we needed.
No, Sarat, I already raised that point, so it's fine. Thank you for pointing it out. We covered that point, so thanks.
Yeah. But we can say that we can try it out using the Viavi simulator integration if possible.
Correct.
That's the first point I'm making.
Yes.
And the second one, the simulator, we will have all the hook for MIMO. I think we talked about it. Will you have the hooks for all the MIMO simulation?
That is not in the 1.4 scope. So that would be the next release or future release. Yeah. So that is all I have for SD-RAN update. But the only one thing I want to say for the next release is when we should do. So I'm trying to rush, but probably I think I cannot 100% guarantee for that, but I will try to do my best and rush it. But once I think it's fixed, then I will let you know and share the date to all of you. But the release date is not really fixed, but I'm thinking that it should happen before half of this year.
Okay, and so we're sometime by the end of Q2.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
All right, I'm just going to note that up here at the top.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks, and I appreciate all of that effort. That's so on the OAI integration. We go around and round on this. So I hear from you that from the work that got done for the last Pronto demo, which is where you would start on what you integrated, you believe that might be still encumbered by Intel Labs or Intel. I'm not sure which specific.
So it is inside the Intel GitHub repository. So I'm not sure how if I can move it to the open source, because that Intel GitHub is not for open source software. It is for Intel's property. So there should be some process to open the code from that Intel repository. So
okay.
Yeah.
So the other half of that though is I hear from Intel Labs that their code is available. Now maybe these are different copies of the
Yes.
same code?
So
Maybe they are completely different bits of code. That's what I'm unclear about.
yeah, Larry, there is two different things. So what Woo-Jung is mentioning is a version of OAI. If I'm not mistaken, is 2022 week 52, I believe is the tag for that specific code, where was the KPM service model was integrated into that version.
Yes.
Okay, so in our case, for the Navy project, we use a OAI, I believe is 23 week 16 or week 20, something like that. And in our case, Northeastern University, which was our partner, they opened the changes that they made into the Mac layer to the OAI community, and that's the one that is open source. So there is two different versions of the work that the OAI that are integrated, and that's actually one question that I had in here is, the OAI. If you keep having these OAI versions in your own repositories, OAI is going to keep kind of like moving forward, but there's not going to be necessarily an alignment with what you have internally in the Aether, as the Aether project itself. It's that something that you want to have as a repository, or just kind of create some type of patch and keep bringing whatever latest OAI version is there?
So so the in the SDRAM GitHub repository, I mean that is ONOS project repository, there is an open air interface 5G repository, which is cloned from.
Isn't it 4G?
That has 4G, and we tagged it to use the specific code from OAI. And I was thinking that the 5G support code from the Intel sandbox repository, I want to move that code to the new branch of the ONOS project, Open Air Interface 5G repository. So that is the code transition from Intel Intel Sandbox repository to the ONOS project, which is the open source project. So I believe that there should be some approval from the internally. Yes, so that is what I want. Yeah. Okay. So that I wanted to check for the 1.4 release. And if it's getting delayed, then I think I will drop 5G OAI integration and will postpone to the next release. But if I can do that in Q2, then I will include that integration effort to the 1.4.
Is there, who can help you get that code released that you want to move over? Because it would be wonderful if you could get that included. Yeah,
so I have to check first who will lead this kind of process in our business unit.
I mean, I don't know that Christian is on, but now there he is. That would be, Christian, if you could help there.
Well, yes.
We understand the scope of this.
Yeah. If so,
yes.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Just one clarification, Larry. So the version that we're using is week 27. So it's not week 16. That's a specific version we're using.
So yeah, in what you're doing, Gabriel, at Intel Labs, so now what I want to maybe explore with Woo-Jung is if it makes any sense to just leapfrog past that 22 week 52, which is more dated. Woo-Jung, does it make sense for you in the release 1.4 to include Intel Labs version?
Yeah. That
which
makes
A
sense.
is newer and B, as I understand it, is available. I mean, can be used without going through any more open source.
Yeah. Right. So just for your information, in our case, so week 27, that's what we use as a reference point. And then after the project ended, NEU brought those changes back to OAI community. So highly likely they have integrated those. If the PR was merged, that should be merged somewhere around like week 2023, starting week probably around 40, 48. That should if the PR was merged, that version starting 40, 48 should have those changes already integrated in there.
Yeah.
But
okay.
again, in our case, our changes were basically just MAC layer related for the slicing. In your case, I think your changes are not just MAC layer, but they are also a E2 agent itself to support the service model. Yeah,
Correct.
so the OAI version that we used that didn't have that support.
All right, so I think that, and I have no sense of how hard this would be, Wuzhang, but it might be easier to include that in the 1.4 than to try to get the other code released.
Sure.
Just procedurally.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, that's great. I really appreciate the update, and I think just Wuzhang, for your sake, the more, I mean, you heard from Alex, and there are other people building out and using this code. The more we can pull them in and get them contributing to maybe not necessarily 1.4, although that would be fantastic. From 1.5 and from then on, that would be good. The other high level point here to make is please make use of the wiki to write down the plan and what's in and what out, release notes, and anything you need to document.
Sure, I will.
All right. Is there anything else on this topic or any other topic?
So I'm thinking that we might want to ask Alex and Surat to present what's going on with the RIC forum demo sometime in the near future as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So can you remind me when the demo is? Maybe we just wait and we kind of schedule it right after that.
Yeah, the demo is
26th.
on 26th of the week. Yeah, 26th. Yeah.
Okay, so what if we
So the week-
scheduled it for the meeting after that?
Yeah.
Okay,
That would be 4/2.
all right. Let me conclude this. Whoops. Why didn't that, well. What was that heading to? Yep. And now 19. So you said it was 4/2?
Yeah.
All right, I think we'll probably come up here and just put future meetings. Dang it. All right, I will futz and clean up the notes here, but and get them updated. But I think topic wise thank you. I think we're pretty good shape. Anything else? All right, thanks everyone. See you again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.